Hello there. Food is a very often discussed topic. It's one of the most popular topics you'll find in every search engine. And one of the questions that is often asked, which is a better food, a vegetarian or non-vegetarian? What are humans meant to be? So we try to talk this topic from insights, the evolution of food, the evolution of life. What insight does it give us? As usual, I'm Dr. Ajit Singh. I practice internal medicine. I see patients in the day, and at night I roam the world of knowledge. And this is a topic just to share. You see, the story begins with Earth, the mothership Earth, as we can call it. There was this mysterious thing called sunshine that enveloped Earth. There was the ocean, there was air, carbon dioxide, and there was what is known as an energy. Energy is the mysterious currency of the cosmos. Energy is something you can take from a source, use it to do things. And this abundant sunshine that we even love even today was abundant in on Earth. Also abundant was something called carbon, an atom called carbon, and an entire chemistry sprang out of the atom carbon called the organic chemistry. And life is all about organic chemistry. The circumstances that were present on Earth promoted organic chemistry. It was neither too hot, neither too cold for carbon's liking. Carbon could make other compounds, it could share energy, it could take energy. So all this life revolves around organic chemistry. And this energy, life would give it a name. It would call it food. So food is the energy of. I always believe there was a cosmic planner. The cosmic planner, the intelligence, they told each other that yes, this planet seems promising for life. Let us see. They gave us organic chemistry, they gave us another force that we can call as evolution. And so Earth was the empire of the sun. The sun ruled Earth. Also on the oceans, we must add that there were vents. They were also a source of energy, sulfur compounds. But the vast majority, as we see, was this vast sun pouring out enormous energy, at least for 12 hours of the day, and life happened. Life happened as chlorophyll, small algae-like structures that still exist, similar structures still exist today, and they could absorb this light and put it to use. The sunshine could be absorbed. And now two different funny things happen. The original persisted, but they also sat up on a bus called evolution. More complex forms evolved from the simple form, and at each life bus stop, some species would get down, and yet the bus went on. So the primitive and the more advanced survive together. There was another life form which said that no, we don't want the sunshine. It's too complicated. We want to be free of it. We'll eat the sunshine eaters. So this entire group came along. Same story. They sat on an evolution bus. More complex forms came along. The primitive also persist. And so this was short what is called evolution. So what is evolution? Evolution is a sort of jumping over obstacles to take on opportunities, to run away from threats, to take on opportunities. You change, and that is what is evolution. And the cosmic planets wanted us life to evolve. Now the funny part of that evolution was it was not linear. It is a sort of a spiral, a unknown dimension. You have to win a football match, and the next match would be a chess, entirely different. And each time the loser would be kicked out. So it was a survival of the fittest, and the evolution was one. Winning one evolutionary struggle doesn't guarantee you that you shall become one of the eventual winners. And that story continues still today. Evolution, in a way, aims for immortality and complete independence from the environment. Environmental threats will have no meaning. Food and energy will have no meaning. It will always be there. That is what we evolution wants us to go on to. Now, evolution, the Earth cosmic planets, there were some planets on Earth also. They divided evolution into two. One, they made a goddess of evolution and they made a god of evolution. Let us say the god of evolution evolved the body, the structure, the hardware, but it always doesn't seem to work. And the goddess evolved a software for those species. Now, the god hardware, it can be very, very tough. This is a tardigrade that can survive in space. This is a cockroach. It's very hard to kill. It has one of the toughest muscles. Its structure chitin is a very strong protein. And this goddess made software for all these. Now, sometimes it faltered, sometimes it did very well. It made a crow. It made a crow which is very smart. It made very smart software for some animals which do very well. A rat, for example, is a good planner. So the software, but this is a bird called dodo. It's a big bird, almost 4 feet or 5 feet tall bird, but the software was not correct. Other animals, even human beings, could come and bang it on its head and it would stand there. So there was something wrong with its software. Human evolution has been a continuous evolution of both the hardware, the software, and it's a combination that makes us winners. Out of all these lives, the three major, the fungi, the plant, and the animal kingdom came out. There were three others, the bacteria and the primitive protozoas. Now, nearly everything can eat everything. Even the plants can eat some animals. There are animal eating plants, the pitcher plant and the Venus flytrap. Animals can eat most of the plants, many of the fungi. The bacteria can eat everybody. The viruses can eat everybody. And the protozoa are selective. They can be threatening, they can be non-threatening. Same with the fungi. So life was an entire spectrum, and not only the spectrum, each evolved in a way that specialized in its food gathering. And the software is different. For example, I mean, grass, cow can of course eat bananas and apples and oranges, but but I would rather not. It would prefer grass because it is built, it has the stomach for grass. Similarly, a vulture can eat a cow, but rather not walking on hoofs. It would prefer it cold. A lion can also eat fruits and vegetables. It can also have packed meat, but it rather hunt an animal. And what are bears? Bears are lions that are vegetarian too. They can eat berries and they can survive also on berries. And given the opportunity, they can kill a cow or a small animal and eat it. They run very fast. And now what's happening? This polar bear is trying to adapt. It doesn't get enough seals. The climate has changed. The ice cover breaks. The seals don't come out, and it can't hunt a walrus. So it is finding its hardware inadequate. And so now it's evolving a strategy of swimming out and trying to get a minke whale or something. So it's evolving its software with the hardware, trying to survive. Let's see what the story. So the software of food also has a software, that is the culture, the behavior, and there's a hardware of food, the digestive system. Our likings, our food habits depend on both. The culture, even not even only for humans, but for other species as well. All species you will see have a preferential behavior of food selection, and the digestive system of most species are built around the food. So, what determines what is food? Often it is the environment. If you are in a grassland where you can run, the fast runners will thrive. The suitability, the adaptability. Now, for example, a cheetah, it has a small mouth. It cannot, it's built to grab the neck of an antelope, smaller one. And it chases it. It is fast. Both of them are fast. Often the antelope wins. A bigger antelope is not the right food for a cheetah because it has evolved for this small. But it can adapt. Sometimes in pairs, they are solitary hunters, but in pairs, they can bring down a zebra also. So sometimes software, the hunting instincts, the hunting ability overrides the hardware. What about our nearest cousins, the monkeys, the chimpanzees, the big apes? Monkeys, you see, they started using tools, break down nuts, and they also had a wider variety. They could use tools. The chimpanzees hunt their own bigger species. They hunt monkeys. At times, they'll go hunt and eat smaller varieties of monkeys for protein. And the big apes, this is an insight on what our ancestors really like. They could eat small insects, mollusks, and but they prefer these fibrous foods. They have a belly built for a lot of fiber, like bamboos and green leafy trees. And they generally they go in for the smaller insects and small frogs and things like that for protein, but they are not avid carnivorous hunters. So another once life came along and in settled on Earth, they sort of covet not neighbor's property did not apply to them. They always thought that the neighbor's house is better, his fields are greener. So all over Earth, species try to migrate. Every single species, more or less, tries to migrate to ensure its spread and survivability. So the migration, the free, the footloose, the wanderer, the restless, they slowly seeped through. I mean, seeping through takes a lot of time, and so frogs from one place they started in 100 years they'll go 6 inches or 1 feet or 2 feet or let us say 500 feet. So this was a seeping progress over a long period of time. Many species spread all over the earth, except if they could not go to Australia. And so Australian animals are slightly different. American animals were also slightly different when they were cut off. Islands, ancient islands have slightly different. But more or less, the species on Earth were more or less uniform. And then human migration also started. Um, Same, the restlessness when the water was down in the ice age, when the ice cap formed, the land showed up, and from Africa, primitive man say that happened around maybe 100,000 years ago. They migrated and they went around the coastline, walking down the coastline up into Europe, into China, and through America, and to South America, and to Australia. And in this period, they became great seafood eaters. The mollusks, the snails, the fishes, everything that's found on beaches. And that is why these foods are still some of the healthiest for joints and bones and um, many stuff. So they walked and they ate what the seas and the shores provided. It took a long time. And the planners also seem to say that go on, humans, explore and inhabit the earth. But before you do that, first master your energy, the food. You have to master it. For example, the biggest kingdom was of Genghis Khan, who spread right out of Mongolia up to Egypt. But they were limited by the availability of grasslands. When the grasslands ran out near Egypt, the Mamluks slave dynasty, they defeated them. They would not venture beyond what was food. So they could not be, in the true sense, become world conquerors because they were limited to they were adapted to a particular lifestyle and which did not extend all over the world. So life was in search of a world conquering successful species. A mouse did spread all around, but it did not create an empire. So life emerged in three broad groups: the vegetarians, the non-vegetarians, and the omnivores. There was a three group, a third group. Vegetarians is one end, that eventually depends upon plants. Non-vegetarian depends upon the poor vegetarians. And the omnivores would eat plants when it suits them, and the plant eaters when it suits them, the omnivores. And the two extremes are the extreme omnivore is this vulture, which would eat rotten meat only. And on the this is a sheep which is built only to eat grass and herbs. So vegetarians are almost free. The herbivores, which are the true vegetarian, the cultural vegetarians, and the circumstances made us vegetarians. This is a group which found very little else, and so it depended upon roots, tubers, berries, vegetarian. So the truest vegetarian, the only vegetarian, is an herbivore. Nature's vegetarian is a herbivore. Nature wanted them to eat nothing else, so it gave them cellulase, an enzyme that can break down cellulose. Cellulose is the packing material for nature. All the leaves are wrapped around in cellulose. The grass is there. It has very little food content. You have to eat enormous amounts of it to gather a bit of pure carbohydrate from it. But the herbivores are given an enzyme cellulase. Actually, a bacteria lives in their large intestine, and they have a special fourth stomach which they eat the grass, they circulate it, and then it takes a long time to digest. So these are the real nature's vegetables. So why did humans not get cellulase? You see, there's a lot of plants, lot of leaves, and I often wondered, why did a famine have to have occur? Why did people have to die of hunger? There were so many trees around, so many herbs and shrubs around, but the humans couldn't eat and digest them. Nobody can eat grass and live. We don't have cellulase. That single enzyme could have saved millions and millions of people from dying if you could eat grass and eat leaves. So there is a philosophy, I think, from cosmic planners. Why do some youngsters refuse dad's money? Or even nature wants that the youngsters should refuse dad's help and dad's money. You'll not evolve. You'll be tied down to your old ways of your fathers. Go out and conquer. So cellulase would have tied down humans to a particular lifestyle. It would have made them dependent upon grass. And so nature did not, in a way, the cosmic planners did not want humans to evolve too much dependent upon grass. The competition of life would go out in a way. So, what are the problems with the herbivores? A herbivore, first thing is that the low nutritional value food, the huge gut. You need a long time to rest and digest it, and it's bound to grasslands. You can't go to the North Pole or you can't go to a deserts. It's a wrong end of a. I mean, it's being dependent on certain products which may not be available everywhere. And then they are also at the wrong end of the food chain, unfortunately. Unfortunately, every carnivore tries to target them. So these are the problems with herbivores. Basically, the most important that they have to have a large gut and take a lot of time, and they have a lot of strength, but they also need a lot of time to digest all that low nutritional value food. And then they always need some trees or herbs or shrubs or grass to be around. The herbs also fight back. This is my favorite. There's another pig-like animal in the Amazon River. They eat all sorts of leaves and grass and herbs, and then they go and eat mud. This is Kisilgar, the basic how we treat poison. This mud absorbs poison in the stomach. So these parakeets, they'll after eating all those poisonous leaves, the leaves also have poisons. Most of the leaves they spend a lot of energy in creating all that amount of leaves, and they don't want anybody just to come, Tom, Dick, Harry, to come and eat away those leaves. So they have a lot of poison. 90, I think a vast majority of the leaves are not edible, but these do eat them, and then they neutralize all that poisons and toxins with mud. So next is the world of carnivores. They are obligate carnivores are the cat family. They would prefer not to eat anything else. It would make them sick if you give them a cat family is called a obligate carnivore. It would prefer meat over anything else, maybe even to the point of starvation. And they do sometimes eat plants and animals too, snails, etc. So the carnivores are those that eat the grass eaters. Carnivores, they get very good food. They have it's a complete food. Many animals also get their water supply from that. At least snakes do. Some of the lizards do. So they have a high energy food. They have a small stomach. It doesn't need much to digest protein. Even vitamins, minerals, water from prey. Liver is a good source. A bit of liver gives a lot of vitamins. But where does the problem lie? I mean, you have to become a hunter specialist. It's not a general that animals are sitting there to be hunted. And the carnivores have to evolve. They have to choose a particular species, and around there, them you have to develop habits. And the larger carnivores are a threat to everybody, like the hunting dog packs or the wolves or the hyenas. They are not liked. They are eliminated from most of the places. Every animal would like to hunt them down. But the smaller carnivores, like the mouse and the squirrel or ferret or whatever, they are not a threat. So they spread all over, and they are successful group of carnivores. Now, what's the problem with a carnivore? For example, a lion. A lion needs these grass-eating animals, antelopes, zebra, wildebeest, and suppose it has to go for a holiday or for an excursion near the sea beach, it has to carry its animals with them. You can't transplant a grassland right next to the beach. So a lion simply cannot go on a honeymoon or next to the beach. It cannot leave, it's bound down, it's tied to its environment, and so it cannot be a conqueror. Lots of places you will not find easy to hunt animals, or you will not find any animals at all. So carnivore is more tied down, is more vulnerable, is more susceptible to extinction if it has specialized than any other. So, so the omnivores, carnivores, they evolved. Now, some carnivores are very successful. For example, the alligators, and they are in a blind alley in a way that they remained cold-blooded. Initially the animals were cold-blooded or warm-blooded like the mammals. The alligators, the crocodiles, they are cold-blooded, and so they don't have to spend a lot of energy in keeping their body warm, and so they need maybe only 2 or 3 meals in a year. Yes, that's true. They don't need too much food. So they took a gamble on that, and more or less they haven't evolved much. They didn't need to. They are so perfect in there, and there is always some pond, some river, something to hang around. So lots of species are in a blind alley. If things change, they'll be vulnerable. And so specialists are more at risk. Basically, the adaptable Earth has changed so many times it may change again. Many could not see the change coming and could not adapt, perished. So you don't have to be a specialist. Sometimes you gamble right, like the crocodile, alligator. Sometimes you gamble wrong. So after that, the era of humans spread. The domination was total. They were omnivorous. They had tools. They could use tools. They were independent. They could specialize in a particular type of food. They could change from one food to another food, and they were not dependent on any particular food that would limit their movement or migration. So early man started somewhere 5 to 7 million years, also Ramopithecus, Australopithecus, and this became a specialized branch. 2.5 million years, humans started using tools. All these had an impact on what man ate, the food. Now, with tools, they could do many things. Then 300,000 years, Homo sapiens started emerging, that what we are, and 50,000 years language came along. So if I ask myself, this is not an official, I thought it over. So what are we? What are our food habits? Suppose this is a modern man, we, and this is our food habits. So the food habits we picked up for 300,000 years, that has come to represent very small part of our habit. Then 70,000 years, we started hunting, gathering, things like that. That also does persist. We still have berries, and we like frogs and snails, and so all those hunting, gathering instincts are still there. Then this farming, since farming 30,000 some degree of farming or something was happened, that also we have. But 5,000 has a big impact on us. All these grains came along, the tubers, the vegetables, many of these stuff came along within our known history. And this 50 years has changed and dominated our food habits the most. 50 years, man has changed the most, and this now almost probably even dominates. 90 to others have blown out of proportion. Maybe this 50 years makes up 90% of all our food habits, discarding all old ones. But the basis, for example, we do like burgers and buns and noodles and spaghetti, but those are, of course, built upon grains that man learned to use within 30,000 years. Now, there are two things. There are two sorts of. There was a group, always in humans, there was a group of people who had enough food, lots of food. The kings, the landlords, and people like that, they had a lot of food, but the majority did not have access to all that excess of red meat. So we don't have to think in terms of eating red meat every day or eating sugar or cakes or fishes every day. The vast majority, what did it eat? It did eat grains in some places, fishes every day. In some places, it ate meat, and in some places, meat were occasional or rare. Some places, poultry and fishes were more common. Some places, red meat was very rare. So basically, it was a combination of occasional or rare red meat, occasional fish and poultry, almost everyday grain, almost every day some form of tuber or vegetable or nuts, and once in a while some sugary, some fruits that were in the season. So, what was the game changer for humans? The omnivores. We learned to cultivate animals for food. We could gather sheep for wool and food. We also learned how to use grains, grow grains, and store them. That was a big issue. We could store food. We could smoke the fishes. The fishes came only certain times of the year. We could smoke them, hang them out, and so we became around the year. We became more assured of a food supply. Um, and so there were the two food styles are talked a lot: Paleolithic diet and the Mediterranean diet. The Paleolithic diet was more ancient, is more ancient. It has meat, eggs, and fish every day. Not necessarily big game meat, but they hunted. The game was more available. Bison or deer or antelopes or pigs or boar or vegetables, fruit and nuts. In the Mediterranean diet, these foods are rarer. The grain and the dairy products and the fish products are more available at the bottom. The red meats are much rarer, once a month or twice a month maybe. So lots of specialized areas came out on Earth. For example, the Mekong Irrawaddy Delta, it was the rice fish belt. It's quite easy to catch fish and plentiful of fish, and rice growing was very easy, and with some vegetables. Then the Euphrates, Tigris, Nile, Gangetic, these were more grain based. You don't have so much fish, or you could depend. They were more of a grain, drier climate. China was the versatile. It had everything, something in every pot, a finger in every pot. Japan were the sea specialists, and the anything with to do with the sea and the ocean, they could harness it, including weeds that make them very healthy, seaweeds. The tundra people, they were exclusive meat eaters, fish eaters rather, seal and fat. The nomadic sheep goat grazers, they had a lot of the goat cheeses and occasional meat, and they exchanged it for grains. The horsemen of the steppes, they too, they exchanged things, the hide for grains, but they mostly had mare's milk, cheese, horse meat, and the vegetables and whatever you find on the steppes. The farmer, herders, gatherers, the hunter, fishermen of Europe, the breadfruit gift coconut of the Pacific Islands. They had a breadfruit and coconut, and all they had to do was to catch some fish. They were the people of the Pacific. So every area did specialize in food. The biggest truth of food is like mother tongue. It's easily learned, never forgotten, as is mother's food. So a mother's tongue is like mother's food as well. You respect, you love it, what you love your language, you love your food, what you started eating as an infant. And people don't generally give it up. They hate to give up their language, they hate to give up their original food. They may change, but they do also have a love of their old food. So respect for culturally diverse food is important. You have to respect other cultures' food, because they did what they did. And respecting people's wish to follow it also must be respected. I mean, you can't force people not to eat dogs or not to eat cats, but they have culturally, when they give it up, they will give it up. They'll give it up eventually, they may give it up, but it's their right. And not forcing others to like it is also important. So, living under the shadow of what my mother's food, what my mom taught me to eat, and the impossibility of outgrowing it. For example, in China, South Korea, and all, they hang dogs. They openly they eat dogs. But the French will maybe outraged by it. But the French go on to eat very small, they call it veal, I suppose, calves, small young calves, tender calves. And lots of people will be extremely upset by seeing a little calf being slaughtered for food, or little pretty birds, French eat that. Lots of people, and many people would go hungry rather than eat a snail. So what my mom taught me to eat, and there's an impossibility of outgrowing it, and there is a lot of hypocrisy also going on. I mean, people will be upset by seeing a dog being slaughtered, but not by seeing a little calf being slaughtered or little pretty bird being slaughtered. But that's how it is. That's how we have to live with it. Our right also to reject others' food, cultural heritage. We have a right. No, I will not eat dog. I'll not eat snails. It's our right also. And it's their right to follow our cultural heritage. No apology. I'll follow what my mom taught as a language, as a food. But the one food overrides everything, and that is junk food. Junk food overrides all food today. Taste is king. It's easier to eat junk rather than the other culture's food. I mean, somewhere in the Pacific Island, they ate grilled fish and some coconut shavings. Many people would not like that. And so it's much easier to eat junk than your own food and than the food of others people. So law of food evolution, there's a law that out of this arises a law of food. The law of food evolution says that the traditional ancient food and habits of any successful race or tribe or nation that was thriving up to World War One is good food from evolution point of view, even if unpalatable for others. You see, every tribe, every nation, every people evolved with some food. Otherwise, it would not be there. It would not have survived. It would have become extinct. So, the traditional ancient food habits of any successful race or tribe up to World War One is good food from evolution point of view. That is why that tribe is there. After World War One, a lot of things changed. The food changed, and even tribes will become would become extinct. So it may be unpalatable, but evolution doesn't think that. Evolution says, no, it's good food. That tribe is alive today and kicking and doing well as a nation. So you have no right to say from that food is not good. So some regions are lucky to have evolutionary correct food that tastes good too. Now this is a double whammy. Some people are lucky to have a nice, easy language, mom taught. Some people are lucky that mom gave them simple, good tasting food. The Mediterranean food probably ranks very high on evolutional correctness and taste. And so be. So the question is, which is better? Which is better, vegetarian or non-vegetarian? So the first judge is nothing overrides God of evolution. Even God-men live 100 odd years. Nothing overrides God of evolution. So God-men even live for 100 years. And the motto of God or of evolution is eat anything, your neighbor too, if it helps to survive better and longest. So from an evolution point of view, and evolution is king on earth, you may temporarily seem to be winning, you may be temporarily seen to be losing, but the final is not over till the fat lady sings. It's not over till we don't know when. So the final winner is not. But the whisper of evolution is that eat anything that will help you to survive better and the longest. That is the best food, whether vegetarian, non-vegetarian, cannibalism, anything. Cannibalism is definitely a bad because brain diseases happen. So it went out the fastest. And and so is taste the criminal? Taste, is it the criminal? Why did people give up their traditional foods all over the world? Why why from fish and chips and cold meats and farmer's pie of England is rejected in favor of tikka and chicken and all that. The taste is the criminal everywhere. And often it happened that the healthy was unpleasant, the healthy food is unpleasant to eat, and the unhealthy is very pleasant to eat. So we humans, some humans, some people, they bend the one way. But humans also have a strong strength, and that is to right themselves. They may become unbalanced, but eventually they will become um, uh, balanced. And so why is taste the criminal? You see, in the morning, in our evolutionary period, the hunter is going out to hunt, he's running, but yet he catches the sight of some fresh fruit hanging. The fruits don't last very long. By evening, when he returns, it would be all gone. The monkeys and the ants and all those people will take care of it. So nature wants him to have some free energy as he runs. So the taste and the memory of that beautiful flavor says, hold on, let's take 10 minutes. Let's keep some from for home. Let's tie it up, keep it in some safe place, and let's eat some. Instant energy, people and vitamins and some fiber. And so it was the tastiest, the sweet sugar, the delicate flavors, the sweetness. It made a hunter even break his journey. And second, the tastiest was the salt, which is so rare. Animals would walk for 200 kilometers for a salt lick. So the salt and the sweet, when they were abandoned, we left everything, all the tasteless food, and straight away jumped into sweet and salty and all its complex combinations. So, but again, I have hope in humanity. They always right themselves from being disbalanced, and sense is coming back. I am sure sense is coming back from unhealthy food to back to healthy food. And the biggest challenge is how to make healthy food taste good, and that will happen. So, greatest law of food. What food is safest and best to eat? There's another law of food that I've developed. What is tested, tasted, eaten longest, and labeled safe is safest. As simple rule. Grains are good, but not the way that we eat. Red meat is good, even good, but once if you get it for only once or twice a month, or maybe in a fortnight, and which is not coated with oil and trans fats and burnt and fried. So today to compare, you don't have to, you can't compare the grain of today, dehusked grain and polished grain or processed meat. If you want to compare the lifestyle and the safest food, you have to think in terms of what the food was in its original form. So what is the safest food which has been with us for the longest time and has been found to be safe and good? For example, what has been, berries have been with us for a longest time. Blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, cabbages, these have been always with us. Eggs have been with us for a very, very long time. And what else has been with us? Poultry has been, and fishes have been with us for a very, very long time. And so these are all considered to be very healthy and safe food. But not today. Not today. A fish may have mercury inside it, and egg may have a lot of antibiotics in it. So you have to think in terms of what its original. So cultural heritage overrides everything, and it is legitimate to throw up food, throw it up, alien food, because a lots of people, a percentage of people, if fed, have said that, look, this is fried dog, or this is snails fried, or this is earthworm, or it is they'll throw up. So it's a cultural heritage overrides everything, and that has to be respected. Vegetarians, if they are forced to eat some meat and then they are told about it, many of them would throw up. It's their right. So cultural heritage is number one, and it has to be respected. Respected as long as it doesn't hurt others. All ancient successful tribe food is good. coupled with original activity. Yes, we forget that we think only in terms of food, but you have to couple it with the entire spectrum of activity, of physical exercise, how often we got it, how often we ate it, with what did we eat it. So all ancient successful tribe food is good, coupled with its original activity. Duplicate the whole scene, don't duplicate only part of it. And lastly, not eating. Fasting is a potent food too. Remember, you are going to get a Nobel Prize. Somebody has got it, and you'll get more. The more you research on it, not eating, fasting is a strong food, a potent source of energy. So rewards and punishment for vegetarians, non-vegetarians. Everybody has a vegetarians who exclusively have vegans have nothing else. They have vitamin B12, minerals, protein deficiencies. And red meat for non-vegetarians, it is a red meat. WHO and several national dietary advice bodies recommend reduction in the consumption of red and processed meats based on consistent evidence that links highly processed meat with colorectal cancer in particular. So non-vegetarians tend not to eat in original form. Non-vegetarians also tend not to eat in its original form. So they are also being hurt. They are hurt. The fish is not to be deeply fried. It loses all its good. The poultry too. The vegetarians better, but wrong. Grains are processed, preserved, full of pollution, chemicals, overeating, fried. So they are also equally harmful. So, question: is there a punishment in being a meat eater? The answer is yes and no. You have to say which meat do you want to talk. There is a grass-fed meat where the animals are left free to roam, even maybe running. If the animals run, they have less fat, their meats are better, if not tougher. And there is a feedlot. This is a United States discovery. Pack animals in a small area, feed them by mechanical means, which opens the gate, gives them food, and they fatten them up very fast, and then slaughter them and use the meat. And then there is the wild. The wild, lots of people are very against it. So when you talk about is there a punishment being a meat eater? Yes. If you eat a feedlot, it's definitely bad. It's if grass-fed, it's okay, but not too often. You are never supposed to eat red meat and all these meat too often. So plant food considered less harmful than meat? Yes. There is no doubt about plant food is considered less harmful than meat. Yes. Why? Because they have what is known as antioxidants. They have glutathione, superoxide dismutase, omega fatty acids. They have less fats. So they have what is known as antioxidants. So why is red meat bad? Red and processed meat contain heme iron, which makes meat red in color. When heme is broken down in gut, it forms nitrogen. Nitrogen compounds are very bad, which damage the bowel. Preservatives of nitrates and nitric also form nitroso compounds, and cancer causing chemicals develop when meat is burnt or charred. So this is the problem, and what is not written is eating meat too often is all bad. So 700, this is from Australian South Wales or some recommendations. 700 grams of raw, 445 grams lean red meat each week. All that you should eat. 400, half a kilogram of cooked lean red meat in a week. A family of 4 buys half a kg, 400 grams of lean meat for one meal. If you are a family of 4 or 5, you should buy half a kilogram of meat. So that is the correct amount. So now comes to another law of car punctures. The law of car punctures. If you have to travel far, you better have none. If you have to go to the neighborhood, if you have a puncture, you may drive. But if you have to travel far, you should have no puncture. So if you have to live long, you should have no punctures. It was all right. Life expectancy was 40 years, 45 years, 50 years. All those antioxidants and etc. don't kick in, start showing the benefit as early as that. So calories and proteins and food was very important. So what are free radicals? Free radicals is like when we are doing something good or welding, joining two pieces, and all these sparks that fly, these wherever they land they'll damage. So is same thing in body reactions, chemical reactions. A lot of free radicals, they are mostly oxygen minus the free oxygen, and wherever they'll attach they'll damage that. And so we body has a lot of mechanisms. Glutathione, superoxide dismutase, these are natural, even melatonin they say, are antioxidants. They absorb, this quench. But the best, all plant foods have 64 times more antioxidant power than red meat, poultry, fish, dairy, and eggs. The only non-vegetarian foods that have antioxidants are the omega fatty acids in fishes, certain fishes that grow in deep cold water, the herring and the cod and the salmon. So the fruit and vegetables have a lot of antioxidants that protect the body. They protect cancers from forming. Many even heart diseases, many damages that occur due to in the body are persistently due to eating wrong food, creating too many free radicals. So if you want to travel long to 100 years, you should have none of these, or you should have a lot of free radicals to quench any excess of radical form. So vegetarians too shoot themselves in the foot. It's not the non-vegetarians that do harm. They deep fry their food. They have selective foods. They don't eat tubers. They don't eat seeds. They don't eat gums. These are all part of the vegetarian balanced diet. They have refined grains. They don't eat steamed raw vegetables. They deep fry, and they should have a wide variety of foods. And they mostly, lots of people don't eat berries and herbs in their raw form. And then they don't, the vegetarians also don't keep their body weight intact. They don't exercise, they use too much oils. They are using the wrong oils, especially the vegetable oil. So all the benefit goes away. The future is modified. What is the future? Vegetarian, non-vegetarian with no killing. Sensitivity, violence, pain, killing, we evolved out of it. That is what is human evolution. It was very easy to see an animal hunt 50 years ago in a movie, but not anymore. The humans are getting sensitive. So future is organic, earth-friendly, sustainable, healthy vegetarians and lab-grown meats. This will come along. Humans and man is not going to give up meats, but lab-grown meats may take up a lot of space that is being taken by the slaughtering of animals. And the future is organic, earth-friendly, sustainable, healthy vegetarianism, not the unhealthy vegetarian, and lab-grown meats along with eggs, fish, that poultry that is there. So there are vegetarians are there are lots of vegetarians. Lacto vegetarian, they have only milk. Ovo vegetarians only eggs. Lacto ovo vegetarians, they have milk and eggs both. Pescatarian are very is a special group. They have fish only. A lot of Christian groups have that. A lot of the ancient Greeks, Plato and Homer and all, they were all pescatarian. They say that fish is not born of blood or something. They have this special, so you can eat a fish. And then the vegan, though no milk, no eggs, no meat. This is not healthy thinking. This is not healthy thing. There are very nice dairies now that produce milk without harming the calf. They let it drink and it produces better calves. And they switch it over to better foods. So lots of people don't avoid milk for that. And there are so in Plato's ideal republic, a healthy diet would consist of cereals, seeds, beans, fruit, milk, honey, and fish. So one can add poultry to it, and this would be the right food. So availability of availability of protein is king. The king is protein. What is our culture has evolved is how we got it. Our protein. Now I've demonstrated two people from India, the Brahmins. The Brahmins are the priestly class in India. Now they are mostly vegetarians. They dominate the vegetarian world in India. But there are two honorable exceptions. One are the Bengali Brahmins in the east of India and the Kashmiri Brahmins in the north who were pushed out of their homes, the original inhabitants, hounded out by a Muslim majority. Both of them are non-vegetarians because in the cold, ice-bound Kashmir, the Hindus had to eat lamb. And in the east of India, the fish was so available, and protein, other sources was too scarce that they took to fish and they even use it as a holy in their many functions. They use fish. So the Hindu Brahmin exceptions are these two, but more or less, most of the Brahmins are. So in the end, it is the protein, the availability of protein that determines culture and our foods. So man, religion apart, culture apart, sensitivity apart, man is built for being omnivorous. That's for definite. Man was built by the planners of the cosmos and the planners of the earth to be a omnivore. Nature wanted us not to be herbivores. It didn't give us. It didn't give us cellulase, and it doesn't want us to eat rotten meat either. It wants us to have healthy. Evolution sees man as earth explorer, settler, adaptable, and yes, overriding sensitivity. It may take a few generations. Brahmins migrating from India will start eating steak in a couple of generations. Maybe they have. And the dairy, poultry, olive oil, white variety, the Mediterranean diet, these are all better ones. So, if you want to live, the best option I would say is in a preteen era, in the teenager group or the preteens, one should be encouraged to have meats, red meats, all sorts of good food, healthy food, because proteins make you stronger, taller, and there are reports that those who eat fish proteins more grow taller in their teens. But later on, one can switch over if one wants does not want too many visits to the hospital and health issues, turn vegetarian and or very abstemious non-vegetarian diet, or if you have some red meat or poultry and this thing, have load it with vegetables and fruits and grains. And so with to be of live long and live without medical intervention, I rather suggest go on to be a vegetarian later in life. So the love of life can override all other love. You just need a reminder, maybe more than one. So what sometimes we forget the love of life that each of us has, and once we stimulate it, this love of life can override all wrong habits, bad habits, and take us to organic foods. Love is an acquired taste. Yes, we fall in love in the middle age. Love is an acquired taste, but love is also inherited. Ask a goat up a thorny tree for a bitter leaf. A goat, you see, it loves that little bitter leaf. It's inherited. So we all have an inherited love. We all have an acquired taste. All that is that nurture your inherited if it is not unhealthy, and ensure that the acquired taste is also healthy. Well, that's me. I have two books on Kindle. The Song of a Crooked River, The Eternal Strip Trees is a huge book. I'm sure anybody who loves it will love this book. It's about romance. It was about life. It's also about the metaphysics of life presented. I have a book on 9 stories in Hindi. Again, very lovable stories. So this is my sales talk. I hope you enjoyed my talk. Thanks.